They watch the loud ones. They chase the names in the spotlight. They fear what they see, but they never fear what's hidden until it's already too late. This is the strategy of invisibility. The art of staying unnoticed, unassuming, quiet, until you strike. You don't win by being seen. You win by being missed, by being the variable they didn't plan for, the threat they never calculated, the ghost in the room they didn't know was armed. The world teaches you to be visible. Show your success, prove your worth, speak your truth, shout your plans. But every time you do, you make yourself predictable. You give them something to aim at. You become a target. Power doesn't need to be seen. It needs to be positioned, silently, strategically, without warning. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the one speaking. It's the one listening, the one gathering information without giving any in return. The one who knows that the longer they remain invisible, the more lethal they become. This is how you rise without resistance. You move like smoke, everywhere and nowhere. You build in silence. You master your craft behind closed doors. You collect leverage quietly until your influence is so deep, so far-reaching, that by the time they notice you, you've already won. Let others take the credit. Let them chase validation. You don't need recognition. You need results. Because when you operate from the shadows, you're not playing the same game. You don't react. You position. You don't announce. You appear. And when you finally move, there's no defense. Invisibility is not weakness. It's patience weaponized. It's power without ego. It's strategy without noise. While they're making noise, you're making moves. While they're chasing attention, you're building advantage. Understand this. The strongest influence is the one they don't even realize is there. The hand behind the curtain. The force behind the shift. The architect they never saw. You don't need to be the face. You need to be the reason things happen. And when the time comes, when your presence is finally felt, they won't be ready. They won't have time to adjust. They'll look around wondering how they lost, and they still won't see you, because you were never trying to be seen. You were trying to win. This is the strategy of invisibility. And the longer you stay hidden, the louder your impact becomes. Move in silence. Influence without credit. Dominate without being known. And when it's done, when the dust settles and the pieces are in place, they'll ask, who did this? But by then you'll already be gone, because that's the beauty of being invisible. You're not tied to the story. You're not caught in the noise. You don't answer to expectation. You control it. While they waste time defending their image, you're rewriting the rules behind the curtain. While they're performing for applause, you're positioning yourself for checkmate. The invisible one doesn't seek the spotlight, because they own the stage without stepping on it. You don't beg for respect. You become the force that makes respect non-negotiable. Not through words, not through image, but through undeniable outcomes. You operate in silence, not because you're afraid to be seen, but because you know the minute they see you, they'll try to stop you. And by then it'll be too late, because you've already taken the ground. You've already built the network. You've already positioned the pieces, and they still think the game hasn't started. Invisibility is about patience. It's about humility. It's about the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be noticed, because it's built on results, not recognition. You don't flex power. You become it. You don't ask permission. You engineer inevitability. And when they finally turn around to face you, they realize they never had a chance, because the threat was never in front of them. It was all around them, embedded, subtle, complete. That's the kind of power no spotlight can ever match. So stay quiet, stay calm, stay invisible. While they fight to be seen, you fight to be remembered. And when it's over, and they try to trace back how it happened, they'll see no trail. No noise, no warning, just results. And a shadow that passed through, undetected, unstoppable, and unforgettable. Because sometimes the most dominant move is the one no one ever sees. And that is how you win. And that is how you win. Not with a roar, but with a whisper they never heard coming. Because when you master invisibility, you don't fight battles, you end them. You make the loud ones exhaust themselves, while you quietly remove their foundation. They try to predict your next move. But how do you predict someone who's never shown their hand? They plan around your absence, and that is your greatest presence. You live in their blind spots, in their assumptions, in their false sense of security, because they believed what they could see. They trusted the visible world. They forgot what's seen can be manipulated. What's unseen controls the board. And now we go deeper. Because invisibility is not just about staying hidden. It's about mastering the art of anticipation. You don't just disappear. You reappear at the exact moment it matters most. Not a second before, not a second after. You let them believe they're safe. Let them believe they're winning. Let them believe you've disappeared. And then, you remind them. Remind them that silence doesn't mean absence. That stillness doesn't mean surrender. That just because they didn't see you coming, doesn't mean you weren't always there. You don't take credit. You take control. You don't announce victory. You design it. The loud ones. They celebrate before the battle's even begun. They crave recognition. And that craving makes them weak. You study the terrain. You let your enemies reveal themselves. You let them speak, because every word they say is a map to their mindset. While they talk, you're already inside the system, already disrupting from the inside out, already moving in silence, setting up a moment they'll never recover from. This is the strategy of ghosts, the path of those who understand that true power does not announce its arrival. It becomes undeniable. They'll underestimate you. That's the gift of invisibility. They'll look at your silence and assume surrender. They'll see your patience and mistake it for passivity. They'll call you soft, slow, even weak. Good. Let them. Because underestimation is the greatest camouflage a strategist can wear. The moment they think you're no threat, that's when you become the most dangerous person in the room. You're not behind. You're waiting. You're not silent. You're listening. While they spend their energy chasing applause, you spend yours sharpening the blade. And when you strike, it won't be emotional. It won't be reactive. It'll be precise, clean, undeniable. They'll never see it coming, because they never saw you. You're not interested in attention. You're interested in leverage. Not praise, position. You don't walk into the room to prove anything. You walk in because you've already made the decision that changes everything. And here's what they don't understand. The less they see of you, the more you see of them. Every gesture, every word, every slip of the mask. You gather the data they didn't even know they gave away. They're busy being loud. You're building profiles in silence. You know who they are before they even know what you are. And in this game, that's everything. Because real power doesn't chase. It draws others in. Invisibility isn't about being absent. It's about being everywhere they didn't look. In the long game, noise burns out, but silence accumulates. It watches. It calculates. It waits for the opening that can't be closed once taken. That's when the ghost becomes a force. That's when invisibility turns into inevitability. Because while they're busy chasing status, you're building structure. While they're performing, you're preparing. You don't need the world to clap for you. You need the world to need you. And that kind of power isn't loud. It's engineered. Quietly, carefully, day by day. In the shadows you learn patience. You learn how to work when no one's watching. How to focus without validation. How to stay consistent when no one is cheering you on. And that's what makes you lethal. Because the ones who build in the light, they rely on recognition. They build for the applause, which means if the applause stops, so do they. But you're not building for them. You're building for position, for control, for the moment when what you've created becomes undeniable. You build your mind like a fortress. You build your network like a web. You build your skills in silence, until they're sharp enough to cut without warning. And when that day comes, when your work finally breaks the surface, It won't just be impressive. It will be unmatched. Because no one saw the hours. No one saw the scars. No one saw the nights you built in silence, while the rest of the world was sleeping. And they'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. But you'll know the truth. It was strategy. It was discipline. It was invisibility. You didn't need the world's permission to become powerful. You just needed time. And time works for the quiet ones. It forgets the noise, but it always remembers the results. So keep building. Keep moving in silence. Because every step you take in the shadows is one they'll never be able to trace. And when the time comes to reveal what you've made, they won't be ready. Because while they were watching each other, you were preparing for everything. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to leave the room, but to be in it, without giving them anything to hold on to. You're there, but you don't feed them your thoughts. You don't offer your intent. You give them presence, without access. That's psychological disappearance. They see you, but they don't know you. They hear you speak, but you say nothing they can use. You answer, but never fully. You reveal, but only what you choose. And in every conversation, every meeting, every room, you become untouchable. Because power isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. The more unpredictable you are, the more control you have. When they can't read your intentions, they can't prepare for your actions. And when they can't prepare, you control the tempo. You're not cold. You're calculated. You're not distant. You're deliberate. You show warmth when it serves you. You show agreement when it disarms them. You show silence when it speaks loudest. This isn't apathy. This is architecture. You're building your psychological presence the same way you build an empire. Layer by layer, unshakable, immovable, impossible to penetrate. They can shout, they can gossip, they can speculate, but they will never know where you're standing until you decide to move. And when you move, you won't ask. You won't explain. You'll just arrive, with force, because that's the power of being psychologically invisible. You don't waste time defending your position. You let them attack an illusion, while the real you moves in silence behind it. You become everywhere and nowhere. You show up exactly when you choose, and when you do, the entire room shifts. That's the kind of power no title can give, no reputation can buy, and no enemy can predict. It's not charisma, it's clarity. You know exactly who you are, so you never need to prove it. You don't need to be loud. You need to be undeniable. Power isn't always about action. Sometimes it's about restraint. It's about not reacting when they expect you to, not responding when they beg for it, not flinching, even when they throw everything they have at you. Because patience, real patience, isn't passive. It's predatory. You're not sitting still. You're waiting, tracking, watching them reveal their weaknesses, one by one, while you say nothing. And when you finally move, it doesn't look like an attack. It looks like gravity, like inevitability. They fall apart, and you never even raised your voice. That's weaponized patience. You let them overextend, let them get cocky, let them make noise and burn resources, and build fragile towers out of ego. Then you push gently, and the whole thing collapses, not because you were aggressive, but because you were accurate. The loud ones think movement is progress. They mistake speed for strategy, but speed without vision, it's just chaos wearing sneakers. You're slow on purpose, not because you're behind, but because you already know where the finish line is. You've just decided to take the longest possible route that gives you every advantage along the way. And in that time, you collect everything they threw away, the secrets they let slip, the enemies they created, the cracks in their armor. And when you act, you don't swing a sword. You just remove support. You don't conquer. You let them fall under their own weight. That's the beauty of being underestimated. They give you time. And time, when used right, becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. It's not that you're hiding. It's that you're digesting the battlefield, mapping it, owning it in slow motion,
And when the strike finally comes, it feels like fate, like it was always going to happen this way. That's the difference between action and precision, between noise and inevitability.